Good afternoon and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. I'm Robin Minter Smyers. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the City Club, and I am very pleased to welcome you today to the 2013 mayoral candidate debate between incumbent Mayor Frank Jackson and his opponent, Chairman and CEO of Consolidated Graphics Group, Ken Lanci. The City Club is the oldest continuously operating free speech forum in the country. For over 100 years, we've presented forums that are important to our city and to our region and to its future, including political debates. These debates provide an opportunity for listeners to contrast candidates and ideas and come to their own conclusions. There's a lot to get into today, so I'm going to turn the program over very quickly to Rick Jackson. Rick is the host of Morning Edition for 90.3 WCPN, ideastream, and he's also the host of Ideas and News Depth for WVIZ PBS ideastream. Here's Rick.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Dan Malthrop. Excuse me. Good to see you, audience. We should have an interesting afternoon here today. I am actually honored to be able to moderate this debate between incumbent Mayor Frank Jackson and his opponent, Ken Lanci, the chairman and CEO of Consolidated Graphics. Gentlemen, if you could join me on the stage, please. Regardless, yes. Regardless of the outcome in November, I think we can agree both these men have a true love for our city. They want what is absolutely the best for the city and her people. We'll hear some of their plans and their hopes for Cleveland today. This debate will be about an hour long, split into 4 segments: opening statements, questions from myself, audience questions, and lastly, the candidates' closing remarks. In this first part, each candidate has a total of 5 minutes for both the opening statement and a rebuttal. The candidates are dividing that time as they see fit. We are pleased to welcome the excellent audience with us here today. I know many of you support one or other of these candidates. We appreciate your giving everybody a chance to be heard by holding your applause. Now, the order of the opening statements was determined by a toss a few minutes ago. Mr. Lanci will present first. Mr. Lanci, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon. I want to thank the City Club for sponsoring today's debate and to all of you for participating. And thank you, Frank, for being here. We have the right to expect that our families will be safe on the streets and in our homes. We have to send a message that we as a community have zero tolerance for violence and crime. We are worse off than we were 4 years ago. I want to make sure that Cleveland is better off when I started. If we are to accomplish anything that I've outlined here today, we still have failed if we do not create educational excellence. We can no longer afford to have conversations and debates. We must act now. If I don't restore hope to the ailing city within 200 days of taking office, I would consider myself a failure. What I've just read you are the quotes from Frank Jackson's 2005 mayoral campaign, his 2005 debate, his 2006 inaugural, and 2006 State of the City speeches. I'm asking for your vote in this election to live up to the promises that Frank made 8 years ago and never delivered on. I am not a politician. I'm an innovator. I'm a successful job creator and who lives up to his commitments. I have a proven track record of delivering positive results. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanci. Now we'll have opening remarks from Frank Jackson.
Good afternoon. I'm seeking third term as mayor to ensure that the gains we have made are sustainable and serve as a basis for growth and now and in the future. We build this pathway to success by institutionalizing an infrastructure that will get us there. Over the past 8 years as your mayor, I positioned Cleveland, along with the help of many of you here, to be successful in that effort, to institutionalize strong and sound fiscal management, institutionalize quality education for all of our children, institutionalize a way for the public and private investments to occur that will result in wealth creation where all can participate. Institutionalize quality of life in every neighborhood so that Cleveland is a city of choice, where the people see our neighborhoods as a place to live, work, play, and do business. For the past 8 years, the city has balanced its budget with minimum negative impact on personnel and city services. In fact, we have maintained appropriate staffing levels and provided more and better service for less money. I have created a 5-year capital plan for investments in all of Cleveland's neighborhoods. With a strong and sound fiscal management and leadership, the city of Cleveland lived through the worst economic crisis in America since the Great Depression. And we did more than live through it. My leadership of the city during that time resulted in private investments and economic growth. For the 8 years that I've been mayor, I've always said that education is the key to our success. And now we are positioned to guarantee educational success for all of our children through the Cleveland Plan. It is a plan that is child-centered, partners with high-performing charters, and holds us, teachers, leaders, administrators, and the community accountable for that education. And when our students graduate from high school, I'm leading the effort to ensure that they can go to college. I brought together community partners, the school district, 16 colleges and universities from across Ohio to create the Higher Education Compact to make sure that our children go to college, stay in college, and complete college. But some of them choose not to. Vocational training and technical certificates becomes their preference. That is where the Community Benefits Agreement comes in. The CBA is designed to create apprenticeship pipeline from Max Hayes High School into building trades, create access to contracts and job opportunities, help sustain small and medium-sized businesses and the jobs that they create, keep money in our local economy by investing in local businesses and in local workforce. And on Monday, 10 major businesses and institutions representing billions of dollars of investment in Cleveland endorsed the Community Benefits Agreement. The City of Cleveland has adopted the CBA and as part of its condition for city assistance in economic development and as part of our specification for bidding. The real impact of Community Benefits Agreement will be felt by the people of Cleveland and the businesses of Cleveland when they participate in the wealth that is being created by our economy. When everyone can participate in wealth creation, we will empower every resident of Cleveland and in every neighborhood. And Cleveland has 36 neighborhoods, each of them with their strengths and each of them with challenges. I'm investing in every neighborhood to strengthen their assets and to eliminate their challenges. You can see this in Gordon Square, Glenville, Larchmere, Cam's Corner, Shaker Square, the Collinwood Rec Center, Zone Rec Center, community gardens, bike trails, over $400 million invested in street repairs, over $50 million invested in demolition and board up, $3.5 million that I spend each year for lot cleanup throughout the city of Cleveland. And these are just some of the investments that I'm making in our neighborhoods and in our city for seniors, for our families, our children, for everyone. And I do intend to be the mayor in the next 4 years and look at the returns on those investments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Lanci, you have up to 3.5 minutes for your rebuttal.
Thank you very much. As we speak about education, 8 years ago, the schools were in distress at the time that Frank came in. 8 years later, after 2 transformation plans, millions of dollars, we still have a failed school system. Our latest report card's an F. Thinking that putting $70 million a year into the system from the people that least can afford it is not going to make a bit of difference for the results. The administration doesn't understand the issues of the children. The curriculum that's been provided to Cleveland schools is the same curriculum that are in schools 25 miles south, east, and west, and those children will graduate up to 100%. Problem is, we have an issue with our children, and we have to mentor our children, and we have to provide that leadership that they don't get in their homes. It's a real problem. I've been able to be proud to be part of Project Love, who's had a great success at Collinwood High School, where we took the at-risk girls from a nearly 30% graduation rate to 80% over 4 years. I will take that district-wide. Regarding the community benefits agreement that was recently signed, I don't want to say that because I stood on the steps of City Hall getting the endorsement for the Black Contractors Association that became an issue to have done quickly. But I could tell you that the agreement that was drafted by Dick Pogue, Congressman Lou Stokes, and Dennis Lafferty is not the one that ultimately got signed. So we can talk about those issues. We could say that we did something, but the meat of these projects, okay, the meat of what was originally drafted was not signed. So what I would say is, in order for us to be able to elevate our community, we have to educate and we have to employ. And employment, by cutting out those that live in the city, is never going to give us the opportunity to elevate. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jackson, you have 15 seconds remaining for any rebuttal.
Well, 15 seconds to cover misrepresentation is not enough time, so I'll wait for another opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I would again ask the audience to please hold your applause. I know you're both very emphatically for and against your opponents. Please, we can get more in if we don't clap until later. Thank you both, gentlemen. Now, I have a series of questions for the candidates. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. There may be follow-ups. My option, candidates would have up to 30 seconds to respond to any follow-ups. Let's begin. The first question for both, I'll go to Mr. Lanci first. We are only a month removed from the stunning ending of the Ariel Castro saga, less than a year since the Williams and Russell shootings, the March murder of Eliza Sherman on a downtown street, unsolved, less than 4 years since the Sowell case. We have yet to dig into the horrors the Madison case could reveal. You've both talked consistently about healing this community. I'd like to hear what you think the mayor's office can do to stem this run of rampant headline crimes, especially crimes against women, and why your term as mayor would be the best option in getting the gunplay and the culture of violence off Cleveland streets. Mr. Lanci, I'd like some specifics too, gentlemen.
Okay. Obviously, what you state is accurate, and it's a problem over the last 8 years. I could tell you that during this period of time that I have been going through the city and speaking to the police, speaking to the reverends, speaking to the community, what we have all talked about is the fact that we have to go back to community policing. We have to be able to get the community to talk to the police. And to that end, I've had community meetings where I would bring people in the community together to be able to meet each other, to understand that this will never get solved unless we are working together. I've met with activists who march on the steps of City Hall regularly. And I've told them, you will never march on the steps of City Hall under my administration. You will have an office at City Hall. You will have an office where the reverends are. I want 6 reverends to be picked by the community. I want 6 patrol officers to be picked by the police department. That group of people, when we have an issue, will sit down, talk, and solve those problems. No problem, no negotiation that I've ever had, and I've negotiated multi-million-dollar deals, ever got solved with nobody at the table. We have to bring the community together. And to that end, I had an event Sunday, and we had a great turnout at a great event. It was free. Letting people understand that you care, that you get out on the street, you walk the streets, you feel their issues, you've lived their issues, and you've been able to elevate yourself is the hope and promise that I want to be able to give the children of CMSD.
Thank you, sir. No follow-up. Mr. Jackson, same question. What can the mayor's office do to stop this?
Well, the mayor's office has been doing a lot under my administration. The incidents you mentioned are high profile, so of course they will be noticed. But it's what you do every day that counts. And we have worked with our partners on the federal and the state level. We've had hundreds of federal indictments on gun trafficking, drug trafficking. We're dealing with the issue of crime, but crime is just a symptom. It's not really the thing that will solve it. I will tell you that police in and of themselves cannot solve crime. They can move it around, they can suppress it, but they will not be able to solve crime. So we also have programs and things around prevention and intervention into those kind of things that would cause young people to deal in a way that is not appropriate, not only in their neighborhoods, but citywide. I will also tell you that crime it is down in Cleveland. And of course, you have high profile, but I can give you statistics on crimes that are down in Cleveland, but that's not important, because if you're the victim of a crime, what difference does that make to you? So the point that I'm making is that I live in Cleveland, and I live in one of the areas of Cleveland that has the highest rate of crime. So it's important to me because my wife lives there with me. My children live there with me. My grandchildren live there with me. And when those young people are dead and they get shot, I go to their funeral, not in a public way, neither do I have hot dogs and hamburgers at tragedy. But I go to those places and I deal with people. And because it is where I live and it's important to me. And who is important to me are the people of the city of Cleveland. So when I make decisions, it is not in a short-term political way. It's really in a comprehensive way to try to address the overall issue that we face, a social and economic. That's why education is important. That's why community benefits is important.
That's your time, sir. Thank you. Next question to Mr. Jackson. So you've got big plans for the lakefront, as have mayors preceding you. The city, the county, the Port Authority applied for a grant to help finance a proposed bridge plan. The city has opened the planning process to the public for the first time. Yet there are people who would prefer money be spent improving our neighborhoods, upgrading infrastructure, rehabbing things. So other than being a great place to watch the fireworks or walk along the water, how does improved access to the waterfront help this city?
Well, because it pretty much, when you look at the waterfront, you look at the asset. It's the greatest natural asset we have. So you have to build off that asset. Now, in terms of investment, I know that people talk about downtown and neighborhood. That's a political conversation. Downtown is a neighborhood. Just like I said, you have assets in the downtown neighborhood. You have assets in non-downtown neighborhoods. I will tell you that we have invested in the neighborhoods of the city of Cleveland, probably over $250,000 in capital dollars. We've invested through economic development $150 or so million in economic development. Each of those investments have spent off dollars to the tune of over $1 billion. When you look at downtown, we do the same thing. You cannot have a healthy city without a downtown neighborhood. You cannot have a healthy city without neighborhoods that are out in the residential side. Now, all that being said, much of the investment downtown that you see that people like to talk about and compare to other neighborhoods is like casino. Well, that's a private investment. A private investment, no government investment in that. And matter of fact, it was to our benefit. Mr. Gilbert kept his word when he said 90% of those employed there on a permanent basis would be from Cleveland or the surrounding area. That's about 1,200 to 1,300 people. The Medical Mart Convention Center, we did not invest in that. As a matter of fact, I made $20 million off that we used to put into the neighborhood in terms of delivery, service, and capital kind of thing. But what happened was that was a sales tax that the county commissioners did that all county people pay if you buy something in the county. That is not a city subsidized program. So there are investments going on in the city of Cleveland, both in the downtown neighborhood and in the residential neighborhood. All are important. All are important. The political consideration is downtown versus neighborhood.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lanci, would you persevere with the existing plans, and why or why not?
No. I mean, at this particular point in time for the city of Cleveland, we have far greater problems than putting up hotels and investing in that type of thing. You look at the assets that we have, and you have to get a return immediately. What I would do is I would propose that our port, that we will have a container service, because that is something that we could get up and running in several months. We also could bring in cruise ships. We could bring in small cruise ships that could do the Great Lakes. We could get participation to be able to bring people from the Great Lakes into Cleveland. We need people downtown to consume what we have. We have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's the only one in the world, and we are not leveraging that asset to its fullest. And the only way you're going to do that, it's not coming from Cuyahoga County. There's only 1 million people here. We have to bring them from other places. And so we have to think about the assets we have, leverage the way that we could get things here quickly. And by doing that and also developing a ferry service, a jet service, you know, I've traveled the world. And in China, they have jet boats that go from Hong Kong to China. Very quick, very easy. There's no reason why we can't have a service that goes to Canada and bring people back here. We just have to be able to get together and work that out. These are business transactions. These are transactions that I've been involved in my whole life. These are the types of transactions that grow a city. We cannot cut our way out of our problems. And balancing a budget, that's required by law. I mean, everybody's had to balance a budget. There's no magic in I balance the budget. You create a budget that balances because you have to. It's what you do with that money, and it's how you spend that money is what really counts. And if you're not creating jobs, which we're not, our poverty's gone from 27% to nearly 34%. If you are not solving crime, which is at a record rate of murders in the last 8 years, and if you are not providing an education for your children, the responsibility of the mayor is you failed.
Thank you, sir. Next question to Mr. Lanci as well. The Cleveland Police Union has endorsed you. You have said #1 safety priority will be to reestablish trust between the police and the residents. So what's your stand on reining in some of the irregularities, or as the Attorney General framed it, the systemic failures in the Cleveland Police Department? And how do we improve the relationship between the CPD and the public?
Well, I'm on the record having said that the safety director will be fired as well as the chief. I believe that you have to have somebody that's in a position that all the people respect. If your rank and file doesn't respect the man at the top, we are not going to have a successful organization. You have a lot of disinterested, you have a lot of acrimony in the department. I've said to the CPPD when they asked me the question, you going to go outside and bring us a chief? Absolutely not. I believe you build your team from within. But I said, you will decide who you will give me to choose from. You have to respect the man that leads you. What if you don't like him? Listen, if you respect him, I'll learn to like him. I haven't met anybody I don't like. And he, as long as he has the ability to deliver my culture, then he and I will be very successful. Working with the community, you have to work with the residents and the activists. They live this every day. And by the way, 24-hour security at your house, with all due respect, Mayor, doesn't mean you are just like them. If they had 24-hour security, they wouldn't have the problems either. So, as far as the casino, Dan Gilbert, he did that on his own. I mean, private investment is what we have to encourage. There's no reason. I don't know any business guys that are wealthy that need help from the city to make more money. I didn't take any help from anybody. It's the opportunity. This is America. The residents need the help. Their quality of life is what we are fighting for. The president isn't going to do anything for them. Your mayor leads that challenge. Your mayor makes those decisions, how that money is spent. Your mayor is responsible for that. And you need to hold your mayor responsible for the 8-year record of failure that he's had. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Jackson. Okay, let's hold the applause. You don't want me to send my people over there.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You're on the record for both firing the chief and the safety director and also keeping them. So I don't know which one you want to do. The other thing about them respecting the chief, when asked, the union president asked whether their opposition to the chief was because he was holding them accountable, and he said, absolutely so. That's the only reason he wants him fired. So you have been endorsed by an organization that you protest against. Now, all that being said, it is essential for us to have a relationship between the police and the public and the citizen. My very first press conference as mayor was about healing that breach. And we put in place those things that would hold people accountable and put in place those things that would guarantee training so that we knew that they were trained in the things they needed to be trained in. We also said that we would never hang a police officer out to dry for political reasons, but neither would we cover up anything for political reasons. And so if those officers stayed within the box, then they were perfectly protected and fine. If they get outside the box, that's on them. And in some cases, they get outside the box and we hold them accountable. And we do administrative things to them. Now, in terms of what the Attorney General said in regards to a systemic failure, the systemic failure was not with the Cleveland Police Division. The systemic failure was with the Attorney General's office for denying due process and civil rights to 2 victims. I have yet to hear you or the police union mention the 2 victims who were denied their civil rights and due process and who are dead. And as a result of that, those officers are denied their due process because there's no way in which even they could have a fair criminal hearing in regards to this because it wasn't done properly. But I haven't heard you talk about that.
Thank you, sir. I can see by the clock I only have time for one question myself, but I'm going to skip over the schools question because I believe this fine audience will take us there. My last question is going to be to the mayor first. We are becoming again a city of headquarters. We could argue whether credit for the success of attracting companies to the city stays local or if actions from Columbus improved our chances. What I'd like to hear is what you would like to do to improve City Hall's relationship with our State House to continue to attract their assistance in growing this city and this region.
I do business with any and everybody. Only thing I'm saying, you got to respect the city and respect the people and not be condescending. You cannot be disrespectful or condescending. That's the only thing I say. I have no political allegiance to be against anybody or for anybody. And I've worked with this governor and with this House and Senate that is Republican to do the transformation plan, our education plan, and the Transformation Alliance. We have worked to get back our our parks and have assigned that to the metro parks. We have done numerous things where they have given us economic development assistance. So if anybody wants to work on the behalf of Cleveland or the citizens of the city of Cleveland, I'll gladly work with them. And I will gladly be opposed to anybody who wants to take advantage or disrespect the people of the city of Cleveland or the city as a whole. So it doesn't matter to me, Democrat or Republican, business or union. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what is happening in Cleveland. How can we leverage with partners, whether Democrat or Republican, state or federal or other municipalities, my whole regionalism plan around the water service agreement to create non-poaching activity. All these things are designed to better position Cleveland for the future. And when you position Cleveland for the future, you position the people of the city of Cleveland for the future. You position the businesses of the city of Cleveland for the future. That's all this is about. And we have done that. In 8 years, we have done that. And now I am seeking another 4 years so that I can institutionalize that pathway to success. We have it here. It's there to be had. And just like I brought it this far, I intend to carry it over the hump.
Thank you. 2 minutes, Mr. Lanci. What would you do to attract attention, dollars, whatever, from Columbus to Cleveland?
Well, as the mayor said, it doesn't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat. You know, he's not political, but he is political. His decisions are going to be made, okay, based on what other people tell them, because politicians have to take money. I can tell you that there is no politician that has ever had the luxury that I have to be able to serve you. I don't need a job. I don't need a career. I don't need any money. And oh, by the way, the party doesn't support me either, and I don't need them. I will be the first mayor that gets in office that works for the greater good of all the people. Now, the business community is not real excited about that. They've all given him money. The Republicans had a fundraiser for him. Think about that. Republicans have a fundraiser for a Democrat running against a Democrat. What's the difference between these two Democrats? Well, this one can't be controlled. I don't need anything except results for the residents, the most important people that this city has to be concerned with. Business people with money will always make money. It's the job of the city to get out of their way, streamline the process, make it easier to develop, make your people accountable. I've tried to build here. It doesn't happen. There is no sense of urgency. There is no accountability in these departments. And I've heard it. I've lived it. This has to change. If this city's to move forward, it has to change.
Thank you. Now you may applaud. Robin has some brief announcements. Gentlemen, take a breath, then we'll have audience questions.
Today, we're listening to the City Club debate between incumbent Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson and his opponent in the 2013 election, businessman Ken Lanci. We will return to our debate momentarily for the traditional City Club question and answer period. To the audience, thank you in advance for your cooperation by making your questions, note I said questions, brief and to the point. We welcome all of you here and those joining us via broadcast on WVIZ PBS, 90.3 WCPN, and 104.9 WCLV ideastream WTAM, or one of our many broadcast partners across the country. Broadcasts of the City Club are made possible by Cleveland State University and PNC. Our live webcast is supported by the University of Akron. The City Club's politics and policy programming is sponsored by the Northeast Ohio Media Group. Today, we would like to welcome guests at tables hosted by valued community partners. There are too many to mention here, but please refer to your printed program for the list. To learn more about the City Club, our upcoming programs, to make reservations, or to order a CD or DVD of today's forum, visit our website, cityclub.org. Now I will turn it back to Rick for the audience question and answer portion of the debate. Holding the microphones today are City Club Operations Assistant Maria D. Abate and Development Associate Mike Grimaldi. Rick, back to you.
Thank you, Robin. Now we will have the first audience question. Mike?
Do I get to ask both of them or just one of them?
You may direct a question to one.
Okay.
I will give him 2 minutes and give the other 30 seconds if you do so.
Okay, that'll be fine. Mr. Lanci, I know you spent a lot of money on this campaign, and I was wondering, and I've seen a lot of people who are being bought, and I want to know how it's really going as far as your campaign is concerned and what you're going to do after they've been paid and they don't get the assistance that they need.
That's a question for me?
Yes, sir.
Well, you make reference to people being bought. I don't know who you're referring to. I haven't bought anybody. I have employees or temporary employees that are working on a campaign like everybody else. Mayor has it, I have it, every politician has that. I've made no promises to anybody other than I will work for the greater good of all. Nobody is expecting any special treatment at all from me. The reverends that have signed on, I've not offered them a dime. But I happen to know some people have offered people money to change teams. I know that for a fact. I don't really want to go into that right now. But I'm telling you, I don't buy anybody. I don't need to buy anybody. I put my own money here. And it's because I believe this is what I have to do. So I'm doing it. Regardless of everybody else who gave him the money, I am doing what I believe is right in my heart.
30-second rebuttal, Mr. Jackson.
Well, what am I to rebut? I mean,
I don't make the rules.
The facts are the facts. I mean, but I will say that just like on police firing the chief or not firing the chief, you know, you tend to kind of flip-flop. As you weren't a Democrat, now you are a Democrat. You were Republican, you were independent, you're a Democrat. So it's the matter of consistency that you're promoting that I fail to see.
Is that all you got?
Question from this side, Maria. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Lanci. Mr. Lanci, having been associated with the Cleveland Teachers Union for a number of years, they shared with me one of the responses to a question they asked, and so I wanted to ask you about that. You mentioned that one of the solutions that you felt would help the Cleveland schools would be to have the 7th graders partner or be mentored by Hells Angels and the Zulu motorcycle clubs. And so I'd like for you to explain why you felt that would be a good idea, and then possibly give a couple of other strategies that you would use to improve the Cleveland School District.
Thank you for bringing the question up. I appreciate that. All right, what I have said, that we have a problem in the Cleveland Municipal School District. 70% of the children are being raised by a single mother. I've had the opportunity to know clubs for a long, long time. I also know that they need a male figure in their lives. And what I have decided is that we will bring Golden Gloves boxing back to the city, citywide, in a big way. And I've asked some of the motorcycle clubs to sponsor teams to be able to help mentor these kids, give them something to belong to other than a gangbanger. We have to stop them from feeding that system. Even the motorcycle clubs are afraid of them because they don't want to kill anybody. They know the consequences. The gangbangers don't know. So I want to cut the feeder system off. I'm bringing back the guardian angels who on the west side are having great success, and giving kids on the east and west side the opportunity to choose programs that at 7th grade, instead of being recruited to a gangbanger, to be able to get involved in a process, okay, that is beneficial to them.
Thank you. I let him go on beyond the clock. I will also give Mr. Jackson the same time.
Well, you know, it's amazing that the children are the problem in the schools. The mothers being unmarried are the problems in the family. You know, it's very condescending and disrespectful. It's real. It's real. You see, this is my point. You point out that it's real. You point out that it's real. But it is condescending and disrespectful, and it has a tone of disdainment. And I will tell you, you cannot serve those who you disdain. And so I will, you know, I just have a huge problem with trying to formulate policy and have leadership in the community that you have such a disrespect for and such a disdain for and so condescending in your approach to them. I have a huge problem with that.
Thank you, sir. Next question.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Hood. This question is to Mr. Lanci. The Cleveland Plan has now been seen nationally as a wonderful thing, as a wonderful model. And you stated that you have a program, Project Love, which is based in Collinwood School. I don't know the data that you used to say that that was one of the best projects, but I would like to ask you this question. What would be the plan, not talking around, but what is the exact plan that you're going to put in place that would be better, even though you stated if Eric Gordon, you become mayor, Eric Gordon will still be there, of which he is carrying out the plan.
1 minute, Mr. Lanci.
Glad you brought that up. A model, discovered as a model around the country, okay? The model around the country. I've spoke with many of the teachers, currently, teachers that are in the schools that are having nothing but problems with the plan. Don't have school books for the children. Don't have, here it is, didn't want to misstate anything. The heat in the schools exceeded 100 degrees. Other schools closed them. The levy money has been used to bring more administrators into the buildings and not putting the money where it's needed. They have new directors of culture position, as well as barrier breakers, action team coaches, and these administrators all work in the school system. Many of these positions are useless to the students. The fact is, they don't have, few books started to trickle in last week, but not enough. While the lack of books and materials, they're expected to start teaching on day one.
Sir, that's your time. You can
Okay.
complete this thought in your closing if you would so desire.
Sure.
Rebuttal, Mr. Jackson.
Well, again, just an idea without a plan. I will tell you, you mentioned Project Love as a solution. You know, Project Love honored myself and Superintendent Gordon for the work that we did on the plan and an initiative. Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, came into Cleveland to talk about the plan and how it will serve as a national model. So we are in our first year. we're in our first year of implementation, and we have 4 years to do it, and we'll get it done.
Thank you. Let's go to this side.
Mayor Jackson, this is directed to you, Al Porter. Since you control the school board, do you think it's conflict of interest for the Cleveland School Board to hire your brother Nick to a senior position making well over $100,000 a year with no prior experience in education and may violate state law? Thank you.
Well, my brother was working there before I became mayor. And the superintendent does what he wants with his people, not because he's my brother or not. Now, I will tell you that we have a great school board, a great school board. They are conscientious. They work long hours. They have numerous meetings. They don't get paid. And they were essential in helping us develop the Cleveland plan on how to educate our children and to move things forward. So, as I said, my brother's been there longer than me, and believe this, you know, I think that's disrespectful too, because I'll tell you why. I would never put my brother in a position or disrespect him in a way that would cause him to be in conflict. Never. And he wouldn't do that to me.
30 seconds, Mr. Lanci.
A common theme of disrespect in the community. I love to hear that word. I love to hear that word, disrespect. I think it's disrespectful for the residents of Cleveland to have lived over the last 8 years with a failed school system. You've had plans, you've implemented them. This is just another plan. And this plan is not going to work. Teachers don't have the materials today. They don't have access to the computer programs they need. They also are going to be graded based on how well the students do, and they may get fired, but they don't have what they need. So as far as your brother goes, I'd ask, has he talked to you and said, we have these problems, we can't start the way we should?
That's your time, sir. Thank you. Mike, where are you?
This question is directed to Mayor Jackson. My name is Ricky Pittman. I'm a parent. I grew up in Cleveland, just as you did, Mayor, and I was wondering, why have you stayed serving Cleveland as long as you have for all these years?
Well, because Cleveland's my home. I love my home, and I love the people in my home. You know, I had an opportunity, as he has, to move out of the city of Cleveland. I didn't do it. They did. And I've stayed here in difficult times, and I'll continue to stay here, and I'll be here in the future. Look, I have 37 years in government. 24 as elected official, 13 of course, and so I don't need a job. I don't need a job. And I'm not looking to be mayor to have a job. I'm looking to be mayor to serve the people who I love in the city I love. That's why I'm here. And in terms of the school plan, a couple of plans, the difference is that in both of those things, the key element that was missing too was the work rules and the legislative changes you had to make to change the system and the financial support. So the difference between that and now is that we have the legislation in place that will allow us to do the systemic changes to address systemic problems, and we have the financial stuff in place based on the passage of the levy. That's the difference. And there's a lack of understanding that is creating a problem with him.
Hard to do a rebuttal on that, Mr. Lanci, but I'll rephrase Mr. Pittman's question. Why are you still here? You have the opportunity to go where you would like.
Well, Mayor Jackson has made a career of politics. Some people choose to do that. Some people choose to work within the system. But unfortunately, in this country, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever you want to be, you don't have the choice to do everything that you want to do, because you have people that give you money to put you where you're at, and you owe. Now, 37 years as a politician, how's that worked out for the residents of this city? How has that worked out, having a failed school system and another promise that we're going to fix it? But this time we're going to get it right, because you gave me $70 million more of their hard-earned money, the people that could least afford it. Oh, by the way, that was funded by the business community to be able to sell it to the taxpayers. I find that absolutely absurd. We have to do better. Crime in this city is is terrible. The statistics, we're making top 10 lists all over the country.
That's your time, sir. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for Mayor Jackson. Why did the city pay Peter Tien, who misrepresented himself to you, $550,000 instead of suing him to get the original $300,000 back? How could you have been taken by this man if a little research would have shown you that he was not who he said he was?
Well, that's your assumption. Now, Mr. Tien was hired by the Clean Public Power to promote a gasification project. As a result of that approach, we did get a permit of which he was under contract to get the permit. In that contract, if we did not get the permit or in some way refused the permit, he was entitled to a certain amount of money. If, in fact, we did get it, then there was another amount of money that he would be paid. In this case, the state EPA saw fit to say that we needed to change our permit to say it was a higher level of pollutant. We were not willing to do that. So since we did not follow through to accept a permit, he was entitled to the money.
Thank you. 30 seconds, sir.
That is what happens when you have no business experience. You enter into contracts and agreements that where you pay somebody up front for doing nothing. And ultimately, you're going to pay him even if it fails. That is absurd. I don't know who's making these decisions, but the utility company is controlled by the mayor. He is the top dog. Those are his decisions, his people. He chose them. I don't choose them. But making that kind of a deal to cost this community $550,000, I could redirect that money in a lot of ways to improve safety and to additionally improve our schools.
Thank you, sir. Final question from the audience in the back.
The question is for Mr. Lanci. My name is Bob Render, resident of the city of Cleveland. This is a matter of record. When you were running for county executive, you said on a talk show that you would fire every member of the Cleveland Municipal School District from the top down and bottom up. That told me you didn't understand governance or collective bargaining agreements, things of that nature. Then you said you, at a rally for the ladies that died over at Imperial, that you were satisfied with the Cleveland Police Chief of Police and the safety director. Now you want to fire them. Now, is that your position with the Cleveland Municipal School District, that you still want to fire everybody?
Well, you've stated two lies, okay? Number one, running for county executive has nothing to do with the Cleveland School Board. So I never would have said that. It wasn't an issue. I was working on the county issues, so that's a bold-faced lie. And to say that I was going to keep the chief at that location produced the person. That's a lie, too. Thank you.
30 seconds, sir. 30 seconds if you would like.
Well, the facts are what they are again. I mean, what can I say? You know, look, in this business is your word. Is your word. You can't flip-flop all the time. You can't be like a fish out of water just flopping around. People have to be able to rely on, and you're talking about business. Business are investing here because of the certainty of Cleveland. The certainty of Cleveland. And I imagine if you take the same approach you've taken with the police chief and the other people, flip-flopping like a fish out of water, nobody would want to invest here.
Thank you. Thank you, audience, for those questions. Much appreciated. Now for the closing question. I will ask the candidates a question. Each will have 3 minutes to make their remarks, including answering the question and then their closing statement. Mr. Lanci, we've decided will go first. The question, sir. The issue of race in this city never sinks far from the surface. As mayor, what would you do to bridge divides, encourage inclusion, enhance diversity? And please feel free to go beyond race to talk religion if you would like.
Wow. Well, as far as race goes, it's alive and well. Race has taken front and center seat ever since Dr. Martin Luther King has passed on. People have made a decision after the opportunity to be able to elevate themselves in the name of helping the community. And I can tell you, helping the community after 50 years with the problems we have today, just isolate Cleveland. All of the legislators, okay, African American, have worked and done a job for things. But what about the residents? What about the residents? I was here in 1968 for the riots. I've seen those neighborhoods. You know what? Go through the neighborhoods. There's 33,000 boarded up homes since he took office. You want to say that things are fine? You could say that. Downtown is fine. Oh, sure, it's fine. But the residents don't live downtown. So race is alive and well. I'm hitting it front and center. I am including everybody. I sit with people. I talk with people. I bring them into my home. There are things that I've done that I don't need to tell people, okay? But I have been involved in this community for over 20 years, helping the least of us. And I will continue to do that. Now, I don't know if I'll get all my remarks in. I'd like to thank the City Club for hosting the event, especially moderator Rick Jackson. As God is my judge, I pledge a new era of excellence to replace 8 years of proven failure and mediocrity. We must stop the decline in the quality of life for our residents. I do not have a magic wand that will change things overnight, but I can tell you that having a plan, getting up every single day, and working towards a goal, all right, as I have my entire life, I'll provide the city with proven positive results and leadership. I was born on these streets. I escaped poverty, and with hard work and the grace of God, I've succeeded. I want my story to be the inspiration for every child within our school system. I don't know how to deliver a litany of broken promises and platitudes. I only know how to get positive results. Kids on the street know that broken promises are just lies. My programs are simple, they're straightforward, they're doable. We need to return to basics, turn the city around before it's too late. Frank has had 2 terms. He has failed to do so, and he does not deserve a 3rd term. I'm not political, I'm biblical, and as such, I will level that playing field. In business, you're either an innovator or you're a caretaker. Caretakers eventually become undertakers. I'm the innovator who has taken over undertakers, turned them around, and made them profitable. I have experience of building great teams that get great results. We see what Frank has built, failure after failure. Let's not forget Synoptu either. Talk about flip-flop. We're going to have the lights. We're not going to have the lights. You know, we have 350 people come. No, we don't have to. Gasification. It's a great idea. No, it's not that good of an idea. Oh, by the way, we'll pay $550,000. My pledge is simple. Vastly improve schools that will not cost the residents more money, but it'll be focused on proven principles of leadership and mentoring that will get good results. I'll be accountable to all of the residents and expect no less from anybody else who I work with.
That's your time, sir. Thank you. Mayor Jackson, you have 3 minutes.
Race. You know, we still live in America, so race is always going to be an issue for the near future and probably for some time to come. But what it has done is really created what some people call this burden that some people must bear. And a lot of times people attempt, with great intention, attempt to do good. But they do it because they feel they have this burden to do that. But in order to accomplish that, it is a contradiction of terms to empower those who you intend to oppress. So when someone is looking to feel good because they've helped somebody, that means that relationship always has to be in that way where you in need in order for them to feel good. Well, I don't feel good. This stuff is painful because I have to live it every day. And it is painful when my wife and my children and my grandchildren and their friends have to deal with this on a daily basis. So I don't know what is about a politician. I actually think politics is an honorable profession. I think it's an honorable profession. And it's all in how you deal with it. Just like you be a business person and be just as corrupt. But at the end of the day, race is going to be a problem. And what we have to do in Cleveland is to minimize that or to eliminate that by creating an equal playing field. Community benefits is part of that. Community benefits is part of that. And how everyone has access to wealth and the opportunity to wealth. How everyone has access to good education and the ability to gain the skills they need to get a job or to be an entrepreneur. These are the kinds of things you have to do. And you have to do it, and it is work. It is hard work every day. And when you face these challenges, and you face them from an ivory tower, and you just decide to move back in Cleveland because you believe you have a burden, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for, believe me. I live here. My family lives here. And those children who have died, I've been to their funeral. And I don't go to a place of tragedy with hot dogs and hamburgers to be disrespectful and condescending to that tragedy. But I do make my communications heard in a subtle and non-media way so that the people of the city of Cleveland know one thing about me, that I care about them. I care about them. And I care about their well-being. And I'm not going to betray that trust they have put in me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time for the day. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Mr. Ken Lanci. Thank you, Mayor Frank Jackson. Robin? Thank you, sir. Ken?
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, participants. Thank you, audience. This forum is now adjourned.